Hello again, my meddling Scooby Doo fans, and welcome to another review into the world of Scooby Doo. So yesterday, I continued my reviews of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo with a review of Season 2, Episode 5A of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We talked about how it was another terrible short due to the fact that the villain was weak, there was no motive, there was a lack of atmosphere, and the setting was kind of dull. But of course, today, I'll be covering Season 2, Episode 5B of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo, titled Scooby Ghost West, which was released on December 6, 1980. The short synopsis of the second short is, as a result of a miscommunication between him and Shaggy, Scrappy pulls the brakes on the train while it is passing through a western ghost town and hops off the train, forcing Scooby and Shaggy to go after him, but the train takes off again, and they are stranded in the spooky town. So normally I would tell you guys what DVD I'm watching this particular episode of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo on. Unfortunately, seasons 2 through 4 of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo have yet to be released on any sort of physical media or DVD. So just like in my past Season 2 reviews and for future Season 2, 3, and 4 reviews, and for the purposes of this review, I'll be watching the short online. So apologies in advance for the quality of the short. Now, as far as the short's reception is concerned, I'm not really sure how fans feel about this particular short, but considering I am most in the Scooby Doo community, don't really view the shorts very highly and consider them to be terrible. I doubt they're held in high regard. But with that being said, what's my personal opinion on this particular short of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo? Is it a good and underrated short? Is it another terrible short that continues the trend of this series and the trend of these shorts? Or is it an average, decent, middle-of-the-road short? Well, let's find out, shall we? So let's take a look at this short to see whether I think it's a good or bad short of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo. The short begins with the gang aboard an old-timey train going through some deserted landscapes. Scrappy is excited about all the sand he's seen so far, while Shaggy is excited for the Sandman to come. Scrappy sees an old ghost town, so he stops the train. The trio gets off, and the train takes off, leaving them stranded. The gang investigate the town and come across a hotel that has one room left. The innkeeper invites the gang for dinner, and our trio are excited. By the way, this innkeeper is very mysterious, and we never see him after this point, so his association with the villains are kind of questionable, and I might talk about that more in my outro section. But yeah, this innkeeper is very suspicious, to say the least. We never see him again. We don't know who he is, what his association was with the villains are, but yeah, very mysterious character. Sitting down, the three begin to devour their meal, unaware that the food is floating about by itself. Scooby soon catches on as he watches all the food get mysteriously devoured, and Shaggy blames him for eating all the food. Scooby then attempts to hop into the hotel's one and only shared shower, aggravating all the ghosts who are waiting in line. Why ghosts would need to take a shower, eat food, and drink is beyond me, but for some reason in this ghost town, ghosts do that. Shaggy steps out into the hallway and sees no sight of Ghost, so the three of them head off to bed. During the night, Scooby is haunted by a few ghosts, and soon a ghost steals Shaggy's blanket, waking him up. Scrappy rushes out to fight the ghost, and Scooby and Shaggy get covered in glue and feathers. Eventually, a new train shows up, and the gang escape the haunted ghost town. The short ends with the train unfortunately turning out to be haunted as well. I'm going to give Season 2, Episode 5B of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo 2 stars out of 5. So yeah, this was a pretty below-average short. It was definitely a disappointing below-average short. It was one of the better shorts out there. In fact, I might even say this is the best short I've watched so far. And it's a shame because it had a lot of potential to even be decent, maybe even good. This could have been, like, really top tier, on another level compared to the other shorts. Because this short had a lot of potential to be better than it was. And unfortunately, they dropped a ball on a couple of elements due to certain vagueness surrounding certain elements, and the elements not being as strong as they could have been. But overall, I mean, it's definitely the best short I've watched so far, but it's still kind of disappointing and still is kind of lacking a little bit, and still isn't on par with what I hope out of a short or a Scooby-Doo episode in general. It was close to being a really good short and one that I could probably recommend to you guys, but unfortunately, this was another below-average short that just missed the mark a little bit. If it had maybe 1 or 2 more positives, it could have been great, but as it stands, it just barely missed out and was a pretty disappointing below-average short. But like I said, definitely the best short that I've watched so far, and definitely the one that had the most potential. So, Before I get into the negatives of the short and what holds the short back from being decent or good, I'll first get into the positives of the short and what makes the short stand above the rest of the shorts that are terrible. So starting with the positives, my first one is that Shaggy and Scooby were good in this short. They were their usual cowardly selves, although I will say that they weren't really that humorous. They didn't have a lot of humor going for them in the short, but they were cowardly, and reasonably so, because, what was interesting about this short was that Scooby was the only one noticing the ghost for the majority of it, and it took Shaggy until near the end to figure out that there was ghosts roaming around, which I kind of found interesting. And it was definitely interesting to see Shaggy play, like, a kind of role where he doesn't really believe Scooby and misses out on it. Not because he's a skeptic on it, but just because he didn't witness it himself. And then Shaggy finally believes him when he witnesses it himself towards the end of the short. But yeah, they were rightfully cowardly because they were in this hotel and ghost town filled with ghosts. And I thought they were pretty good caretakers and mentors for Scrappy. Especially Shaggy. I really like Shaggy's kind of, I guess, leadership in the short. I kind of felt like he was definitely doing a good job taking charge, making sure everyone, did what they needed to, and took care of everyone. And he was a really good caretaker in the short. Scooby was too, but Shaggy was very noteworthy at being a good caretaker in the short. And I really liked that. I really liked seeing Shaggy in that kind of role, and it was something new and refreshing. And while they've kind of done that in this series, I've never really felt it until this particular short. I feel like this particular short really captured Shaggy being a good caretaker towards Scooby and Scrappy, and Scooby even being a good caretaker towards Scrappy. So yeah, overall, I thought Shaggy and Scooby were pretty good. They didn't have humor going for them. They didn't have any humorous bits going for them, but they were cowardly and they at least fulfilled their basic roles. And they were both good caretakers for Scrappy as well as each other, so I really appreciated that. Then we have the mystery of the short, which I thought was pretty good in this short. Surprisingly, there was actually a mystery in the short. What was the mystery? Well, there was a mystery around this ghost town, these invisible ghosts, and the innkeeper, and you never really got any satisfying answers towards it. No, any, conclusions towards these, lingering questions throughout the short. But it still was interesting. Like, the ghost town itself had a lot of questions. Why is it deserted? Why is it inhabited by these ghosts and this one supposedly human innkeeper? Why is it a ghost town, essentially? Who are these invisible ghosts? Are they original inhabitants of the ghost town? Are they ghosts coming from different areas around the world visiting this ghost town? What makes this town a hotspot? And also, the biggest mystery is the innkeeper. I mean, the innkeeper, he's a mystery in and of itself. Like I said in the review, we never see this guy again. We don't know his associations with the ghost, and it's fascinating to me because we never get any answers to it. Who is this guy? Like, who is this innkeeper? Does he have any associations with the ghosts? Like, is he running, like, a hotel filled with ghosts and knows it? And is somehow working with the ghost, and for what purpose? Is he kind of like maybe delusional? Is he maybe mentally unwell and maybe thinks the ghosts are real humans? Is he faking it, and is he the one behind the scheme and maybe trying to run a scam? This short kind of reminded me a little bit of Spooky Wookie, the comic book that I reviewed a little while back of the March of Comics, that series, the March of Comics comic book series that had 3 Scooby Doo stories in it. And I covered the first one, and Spooky Wookie was the title of the first one that I covered a little while back. And this innkeeper and this plot kind of reminded me a little bit of that story, and it kind of made me think, maybe this innkeeper was faking it. Maybe these ghosts weren't real after all, and maybe he was running a scam. It's possible, but we never really know the innkeeper's role. And I think the innkeeper is the biggest mystery of this whole thing. It's really him that puzzles me. More than the ghost town and the invisible ghosts themselves is, what's his role in this town? Why is he the only human in this town? Is he even human at all? Is he a ghost, but just a different kind of ghost? Like, who is this guy? Like, they never give an answer to it, but it's very mysterious. And the short leaves you with a lot of questions that you don't really get answers to, but it's fascinating to think about, like, who this innkeeper was, what's the backstory behind this ghost town, like, what's going on here, who are these invisible ghosts, are they even inhabitants of this ghost town, are they not? Like, what is going on in this particular setting with these villains, with this innkeeper? Like, what's going on? There's a lot of mystery going on, and we don't get answers to it, but I still find it interesting nonetheless, and this was definitely why the short stood out, because it actually had a really compelling mystery at the center of it, which definitely was surprising and was definitely a welcome surprise, to say the least. And my final positive for this particular short is that I thought the setting was good as well. So, the main setting of the short is this western ghost town named Dry Wells, as well as the inn that the gang inhabit throughout the short. But the ghost town is the main setting, although I will say the inn is a good chunk of it as well. I like the ghost town setting. I like the inn. A ghost town is nothing new for a Scooby Doo setting. We've had ghost towns before. Back in the new Scooby Doo movies, we had one. Scooby Doo Where Are You? We had one. I think we might have had one in the Scooby Doo show, though it's been a little while, so I can't say whether that's the case or not. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was one there as well. So we've had ghost town settings before in the past, so it's not really anything new per se. But I like it because it feels like a classic Scooby-Doo setting, essentially. I like the dilapidated nature of it, the ghostly inhabitants, the mystery behind it, how spooky it looks. This feels like a Scooby-Doo setting to me, which I can't say for a lot of these shorts. But this one had a really fantastic setting, and I really wish more shorts felt like this one, because this short felt like the closest we have gotten to in a while to feeling like an actual Scooby-Doo story. Even if half of the gang isn't really here for this story, I still feel like this was the closest we've gotten so far in the entire show, but mainly in season 2, to a mystery in a short, which is definitely a nice change of pace and was a welcome surprise. The title did seem interesting at first when I saw it, but seeing the execution definitely was very interesting. I still think they fell a little bit short with certain elements, but overall, the setting was not one of them, and I really like the setting of the short. It may be, it may be the same as some past Scooby-Doo settings, but it doesn't feel repetitive because it does feel like unique in its own way, but also we haven't really had a ghost town setting in a long time. And it doesn't feel like a bland, generic version of it. It feels well-constructed. It looks nice. It looks like a Scooby-Doo setting. That's the main thing. It feels like a classic Scooby-Doo setting. And that's the main thing I want out of a setting. To make it feel like this is what a setting of Scooby-Doo is. Like, this should feel like a classic Scooby-Doo setting that I can just immerse myself in. And I think the Western Ghost Town, Dry Wells, was a very good setting. And I like the inn, too. I think the inn was really cool. I liked the different rooms we got to explore in the inn. I think the ghostly inhabitants as well were kind of cool, even though they were invisible, and I'll talk about them later because I wasn't fond of them as villains. But just the mystery surrounding the setting, the way it looks, it was just like a nice, refreshing change of pace. We haven't had this kind of setting in Scooby-Doo up to this point. I think the closest was the mansion in the second short that we reviewed with Sylvester the Vampire. But I think this one might be even better than that because it feels more like a Scooby-Doo story to me compared to most of the shorts we've covered so far. So yeah, really a big fan of the setting, and I really enjoyed it. But that's all I got for positives, so I think it's about time we get on to the negatives of this short and what holds the short back from being decent or even good. So starting with the negatives, my first one is that Fred, Daphne, Velma are completely absent from the short yet again. So this is yet another story where we have no Fred, Daphne, Velma. You guys know my feelings on this, but I have to reiterate, I don't like any members of the gang missing from the story, and I don't like that Fred, Daphne, Velma are absent from it, and they definitely would have been right at home in the story. It would have been great to see them. But yeah, I don't think it's necessary to have any member of the gang missing in any particular Scooby-Doo story. I think all 5 core members of the gang should be in it. And I really don't like that Fred, Daphne, Velma are absent from the story. I don't like it when any gang member is absent from the story. But when it comes to these shorts, I don't like Fred, Daphne, and Velma being absent because they're vital and integral members of the gang and integral to the Scooby Doo formula and its stories. Then we have Scrappy. Scrappy was pretty weak in the short. I really wasn't a huge fan of him in the short. He felt very non-existent. He just was kind of a nothing character in the short. He might as well have not even been there because he did absolutely nothing of value in the short. He did nothing noteworthy. He didn't stand out in any way. He didn't do anything noteworthy. He was just kind of there, and he was very dull in the short, and character-wise, he just didn't have much going for him. So yeah, I think Scrappy was pretty weak in the short, not because of his usual tendencies of being annoying because he's beating up people or setting up stupid traps. He just didn't stand out in any noteworthy way. Next up, we have the villains of the short, who I thought were weak as well. So the main villains of the short were the Invisible Ghost. I'm not really going to count the Innkeeper because he doesn't have enough of material for me to go off of, for me to have a defined, conclusion to his role. Like, we don't really have a conclusion and to his role in the story. So we don't know if he had anything to do with these ghosts and their mischief, or if he just was unaware of it. It's highly unlikely he was unaware of it, but it's a possibility, and because there's no certainty to his role in the story and we get no conclusions on him, I'm not going to count him as a villain because I don't have enough to go off of for me to consider him a villain. So just excluding him, the Invisible Ghost, I don't know what it is. An invisible villain's hard to get, pull off, and I think that's because there's no design to work off of, so you're looking at nothing and you're just seeing things being either thrown around or moved around or hearing sounds, but you're not seeing any visual aspect to the villain. And the main thing about a villain is his design. A design can really help sell a villain to be good, not just the villain's actions, but also their design. And when you have an invisible ghost who you can't see and has no design, I guess it's really hard to kind of pull that off and make it interesting. So I didn't really care for them because all they really did was just eat dinner, which I don't know why, drink, some, I don't know, water or something, probably. I forget in the short what they drank, but why a ghost would drink something is beyond me. And they take a bath in, the only shower of the building, which is also, beyond me, like why a ghost would need to take a shower. And then for some reason, one of them decides to steal their blanket and then haunt them. Don't know why they do that. It's really weird that they just decide to be villainous for no reason. But yeah, I don't really consider them scary. They don't do anything scary. They're kind of doing mundane things in this ghost town and in this inn. They're not really doing anything creepy or scary or intimidating or threatening, but they're not fun or entertaining to watch. They're just kind of boring. Like, they don't really do much, to make the story interesting. Like, they don't do much that's really noteworthy or stand out in any way. I think if it was revealed that the Innkeeper was like running some sort of scheme and he was pretending to be this ghost, I think it would have really made the short pretty good, in all honesty, because as it stands, because we get no definitive conclusion on whether he did fake it or whether these were actual ghosts, because of that, it makes the villains kind of weak and not interesting. So yeah, I don't really care for these invisible ghosts because they're implied to be real, and they most likely are real, but there is a chance that they're not real. But because there's no definite conclusion on whether they're real or fake, I have to assume that because the episode presents them as real, that they were most likely real. And you guys know I'm not big on real ghosts in Scooby-Doo. I like a costume ghost or a costume villain. And so, yeah, there's also that as well. So yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of these invisible ghosts. They were pretty boring, uninteresting, and didn't really do much to stand out at all. There's also no outside of costume element, so like I said, there's no definitive conclusion on whether this was fake or real, but the episode, or specifically the short, presents it as being real ghost. They don't really say at the end what the Innkeeper's role is and whether he's faking it or if he's scheming with the ghost. But it's implied, or at least presented to us, that this most likely are real ghosts. And because there's no proof to the contrary, and there's no definitive conclusion. I just have to go based off of what the short shows us, and that's the fact that they seem to be real ghosts. And I hate that because there's no mystery to the villain's identity, which I think sucks. Like, it would have been cool if at the end the innkeeper was revealed to be in part of some scheme and was faking being these ghosts, because it would have made this short interesting and maybe even boosted up to an average or even good rating, because that would have been something that we hadn't seen in a while and something that these shorts normally don't do, which is a costume villain. And I would have really liked that because it would have answered the innkeeper's role, but it also would have had an outside of costume element. There would have been some mystery to the villain's identity, but as it stands, there is no mystery to the villain's identity, because we're led to believe that these are real ghosts, and we get nothing to the contrary to say otherwise. So, yeah, unfortunately, these appear to be real ghosts. There is still the mystery and possibility that they may not be real ghosts, but as it stands, the short presents them as real ghosts. So, based off the short and what they present these villains as, I'm just gonna say that because we see no unmasking from Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy, or anything to on the contrary to say that these ghosts are fake, I have to assume they're real. And if they're real, there's no mystery to the villain's identity, and there's no outside of costume element, which sucks. There's also no suspects in this short. There's no pool of suspects for Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy to gauge from, because this is a real, invisible ghost. At least we're led to believe that they are real invisible ghosts. But even if it was revealed to us at the end that the innkeeper was behind it or was fake, we only had one suspect. So it still would have been, lackluster, and the suspect department still wouldn't have been that great. But either way, whatever way you slice it, we either had a fake ghost and the innkeeper might have been behind it, but it was only him as a suspect, or these were real ghosts and the innkeeper has some allegiance to them, or is part of their scheme, or doesn't know what they're up to, and essentially we have no pool suspects because there's no costume element to the villains of the short, and there's no mystery to the villain's identity, so we have no pool suspects for Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy to gauge from. There's also no motive in the short. There's no clear-cut definitive motive for these ghosts. We have no idea why they did what they did. They're kind of just doing mundane things and then all of a sudden antagonize Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy. We have no clue if the innkeeper had any association with them and was working with them, or if he was just doing his own thing. We don't know if he was faking it. We have no clear-cut motive in the short. It is literally just Shaggy and Scooby and Scrappy are in an unfortunate circumstance because of a miscommunication, and unfortunately have to spend the night at this inn until they can get a train the next day. And they get basically antagonized by these ghosts and have to deal with these ghosts and this innkeeper who we never see again, and just decide to hop on the first train that gets there. And then it's revealed that the train's haunted, so they just fucking run off and along the tracks. And so yeah, it's really just a short filled with unfortunate circumstances and a mystery surrounding this town, but we have no clear-cut motive as to why the ghosts are doing what they're doing, why they're just doing mundane things, whether they're fake or real. If they are fake, is it the innkeeper? Is it someone we hadn't seen before in the short? Like, what is their, there's really no motive here that's laid out. It is clearly, motive-free. It is literally just Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy put in an unfortunate situation that they have to deal with due to miscommunication. There were also no clues in the short. There were no clues that Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy found to help narrow down the list of suspects, mainly because there was no pool of suspects for them to gauge from, because there was kind of no costume element or mystery to the villain's identity. It's believed to be real ghost, although there is the possibility that the innkeeper might have faked it. And there's no clues to help point towards a motive either, because this short has no clear-cut motive. The ghosts have The invisible ghosts have no clear-cut motive of why they're doing what they're doing, why they're doing mundane things, why they antagonize Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy, why the innkeeper is running a inn full of ghosts, what his associations are with these ghosts, if they're even real or not, if he has anything to do with the scheme or not. We have no clear-cut motive, and we have no pool suspects to gauge from, so naturally there's not going to be any clues for Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy to find to kind of do either of these functions. And my final negative is I found there to be a lack of atmosphere in the short as well. So I felt no tension or suspense or creepiness or eeriness from either the main villains of the short or the setting. I wasn't fearing for the gang's safety or on the edge of my seat wondering what was going to happen next. And I didn't necessarily find anything creepy or eerie about the setting or the villains. Though that could have been the case, and that's why I say lack of atmosphere rather than no atmosphere, because there was potential to have atmosphere. This setting was mysterious. It was gloomy and dark looking. It was a ghost town. And these ghostly inhabitants were mysterious and interesting, and they could have been scary. And there could have been some atmosphere here that was creepy and eerie, but at the end of the day, they didn't really do enough to really execute that, mainly due to the fact that a lot of it's not wrapped up, and we don't really get a clear, definitive conclusion to a lot of these questions about the ghost town and the innkeeper and the ghosts themselves. While it works as a mystery, it would have definitely been nice to have some answers, so to kind of clear things up with certain elements of the short, and it would have made it a hell of a lot better, because as it stands, it's a short that's lacking in potential due to its execution, essentially. So it had potential to have atmosphere. I'm not denying that it would have had, it didn't have a chance to have atmosphere, because the setting was done well. And they're definitely and the ghostly inhabitants were definitely interesting. They just didn't do enough to make the ghostly inhabitants, scary or creepy or intimidating or threatening, and do enough with the setting to where it had provided any sort of atmosphere, essentially. If they did a little bit more and maybe gave a definitive conclusion, maybe there would have been some atmosphere, but as it stands, it certainly lacks it. Overall, guys, I would personally not recommend this short to fans and newcomers of the show. While it's a disappointing below-average short, it did have the potential to be better than it was, but unfortunately, it just fell short due to execution. This is definitely the best short I've watched so far, but unfortunately, it missed the mark due to execution of its elements. It just needed a definitive conclusion on certain things, and maybe a little bit more to kind of enhance the creepiness and spookiness of it. And it could have been definitely a short that was worth your time. But as it stands, I would only watch the short if you're forced to watch it. If you're forced to watch these shorts due to either your kids liking these shorts and wanting to watch a short, and you need to watch shorts with them, or if you're going through a Scooby Doo watch along and trying to pick what pieces of Scooby Doo media to watch, if you absolutely have to watch the shorts, this is probably the one I would recommend so far that is at least tolerable. Though I still think there are better Scooby Doo media out there, which is why I don't fully recommend it. I don't think it's fully worth your time. If it had executed its elements better, I definitely could see myself recommending it to you guys. But as it stands, it unfortunately was a very disappointing below-average short. A lot of potential for it to be better than it was. It could have been average. It could have been decent. It could have even been good or great. But as it stands, it just fell short due to its execution of a lot of elements. Mainly the definitive conclusion to these questions for the mystery of the short, but also just not doing enough to really enhance the spookiness and creepiness of it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Please give a like if you did. Comment on what your thoughts on the short. Do you like this short? Do you disagree with me? Do you think I'm being too harsh on it? Or are there more positives that you see that I don't see? Do you hate the short? I'd be interested in that as well. Do you agree with me? Do you think this is a below-average short that had, the potential to be better than it was, but fell short and has a few positives in it? Or maybe you think it's terrible and has no positives, or maybe one or two positives, but is worse than I make it out to be. Or is it somewhere in the middle where you think it's average and decent and okay, but it's neither good nor bad? I'm curious for your thoughts, so let me know. And subscribe for more Scooby Doo content like this, or if you're just interested in any of my other content, obviously I have more Scooby Doo reviews on the way. This is a Scooby focused channel, so we cover all things ranging from the TV shows, movies, video games, and books, as well as a variety of other smaller things. So if you're a diehard Scooby Doo fan like me and love talking all things Scooby Doo, or even just a casual or a newcomer to the Scooby Doo franchise who wants to get a diehard's opinion on where to start, what Scooby media is worth tackling, not just my opinion, but other fellow diehards as well, or just want to share your opinion and want to have discussions on each individual TV show episode review, movie review, video game Let's Player review, and book review, then come join the channel and experience some amazing Scooby-Doo content. And finally, before I let you guys go, I also recently created a new YouTube membership. It's nothing major or special, but if you want to join and go one extra step to supporting the small YouTuber as well as my channel, I would highly appreciate it. If you do decide to join, there are 2 tiers. The first tier is the Mystery Solver tier, which is $2.99. You will get perks such as custom loyalty badges, custom emojis, shoutouts at the end of my videos, as well as in my video descriptions. You'll also get access to members-only live chats for future public or members-only live streams, where essentially you'll get the first say, you'll get to send in messages, and you'll have the priority during live streams to submit messages or questions for me if I do decide to do live streams in the future, which I'm not sure yet, but if you guys would be interested in that, maybe I will. You also get access to behind-the-scenes photos as well as personal updates that I don't share anywhere else. Or you could sign up at the second tier, which is the Master Salute tier for $4.99, where you get all the perks that I just mentioned, plus early access to new videos, and you get access to members-only polls. So for these polls, you wouldn't decide the mainline TV show episode review series, because I'm going in order for that, and that's the main project of the channel. What you will decide, however, is the secondary projects. So Scooby-Doo movie reviews, video game Let's Plays or reviews, or book reviews that can accompany the mainline TV show episode reviews, even crossover episodes, specials, or shorts that you guys would be interested in me tackling. So you would get, full say on any secondary Scooby-Doo projects. You'll also get full say for other secondary projects that I haven't finished, like TV shows like Miraculous Ladybug and Cat Noir that I haven't finished, or Sleepy Hollow, or Treadstone. I may do stuff for a variety of different franchises, such as superheroes like Marvel or DC, action heroes like James Bond and John Wick, horror like Psycho and Saw, sci-fi horror like Alien and Predator, monsters like Godzilla or King Kong, mystery like Sherlock Holmes. I might also do possibly The Fugitive, maybe. There's a couple other shows that I've been getting into recently that I would love to tackle. So yeah, there's a lot of secondary franchises that I would definitely love to tackle as secondary projects. There's also a lot of video game series that I haven't finished that are either superhero related, like Marvel, or ones that I could start that you guys could have a hand in, like, James Bond games or Assassin's Creed games, or, maybe like Sherlock Holmes games, just anything. Like, there's a lot of games that I would love to tackle on the channel as well. So there's a variety of stuff that you can have a deciding factor in. You also can decide for my special months. So for my summer special, which is from June to August, you can decide, what I can tackle during the summer, whether it be Scooby-Doo or something else. For Scooby Month, you could decide what piece of Scooby-Doo media I could tackle in September. And for October, which is my Halloween special, you can decide what horror-related property I can cover, whether it be Scooby or a different horror franchise that I might be interested in. So yeah, you would have access to all that stuff if you sign up at that specific tier. You would get to decide in those polls my secondary projects and my special months, what I can do to accompany the mainline series of TV show episode reviews, and what I can tackle during my special months. So as I said, if you'd like to sign up and join my membership, I would highly appreciate it. You can join at the Mystery Solver tier for custom loyalty badges, custom emojis, shoutouts, members-only live chats, and behind-the-scenes photos and personal updates. And you can sign up at the Master Sleuth tier, where you can get all those things, plus early access to new videos and members-only polls. So if you're interested in all of that, I may do members-only videos. I'm not sure yet. I have to decide if there's anything Scooby Doo related that I can make it to members-only content, because it's definitely not an easy thing to come up with. If you guys have any ideas, I would definitely appreciate it. Maybe I might incorporate it and possibly execute it into an idea, and maybe I might do members-only videos in the future, possibly, depending on if you guys would be interested in that as well. But yeah, if you would love to sign up for my YouTube membership, I would very much appreciate it. It would definitely go a long way to supporting the channel and helping this humble YouTuber out. And just like I said, thank you very much if you do decide to join. Obviously, you don't have to. I'm not going to force you. But if you do decide to join, thank you very much in advance. I highly appreciate it. In my next video, I will be back tomorrow to continue my reviews of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo with a review of Season 2, Episode 5C of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo, titled A Bungle in the Jungle. I'm not really sure what to expect with the short, but considering most of the shorts have been terrible up to this point, I don't consider it's going to be a highly regarded one. I doubt it's going to be on the level of this short, and I doubt I'm gonna go into it with high expectations. I'm probably going to go in with low expectations, and it's probably going to be another terrible short, but you never know. So if you want to know my thoughts on Season 2, Episode 5C of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo, A Bungle in the Jungle, then come join me tomorrow. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, peace out.